This idea of just throwing content up because you've got to stay on top of some algorithm that's literally working against you, because as both of you know, the only way that really works is when you start paying it money.
Welcome to the Creative Slash Podcast, where we explore what happens when creativity collides with everything else. I'm Brad Woodard, and I'm joined here with my good friend and co-host, Dustin Lee. Whether you're an artist looking to grow your following or you're just curious about where creativity can take you, this is your weekly dose of real talk about making it as a creative human. In today's episode, we share an interview with community builder and the founder of both the Creative Workers Union and the brand studio Conviction, Josh Horton. We go behind the curtain on what it really takes to run a creative conference today, the speaker choices, the economics, and why connection matters more than big names. But don't worry, we also got to get his feelings on the important things, like deep dives into aliens and conspiracy theories, the finale of the show Lost, and playing music with his son. But before we jump into this episode, we want to invite you to be members of our Patreon community. This podcast is still in its early days, and your support helps us shape the show, grow the audience, and keep these conversations going. If you've been enjoying what you hear, consider becoming a member. It's the best way to support our work and be part of building this from the ground up. And with that, let's jump into the interview. Alrighty, we're excited to have you, man.
Thank you for having me, sincerely. Y'all have had some, I was just saying before we hopped on, y'all have had some heavy hitters so far, and I'm lucky to be a part of it.
Oh, you're being humble. You're a heavy hitter.
No, dude, I mean, we get, yeah. I thank you, Dustin.
Well, it's awesome to have you here. It's awesome. Like you've shaped a lot of, the culture. I feel like you've shaped a lot of the culture of design, especially by bringing it, bringing Creative Works to the Northwest, for instance. I thought that was pretty innovative. But anyways, we'll get there. We got to start with, we have a question. I'm really intrigued from seeing your background, what your answer will be to it. And we always start off with, do you believe in aliens, and why is your answer?
Well, I do. But I will say this. I believe in aliens because it's just incredibly, what's the word? It's ridiculous if you don't believe in aliens, right? The universe is so huge. And so the idea that we're the only, exactly, right? So if we are the only ones, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people that believe that too, but if we're the only ones, that just seems incredible. And then two, what's interesting, and I just love, I followed this really intently for the longest time, was kind of the recent banter in the last few years about UAPs and UFOs. And I mean, I think there was a Senate hearing literally 2 days ago that I did not catch, but I think the majority of that stuff, I used to think that we were on the edge of getting this huge truth.
Me too.
And I no longer think that. I think a lot of what is being sold to us is a lot of smoke and mirrors. Because, and you guys probably follow these. I used to follow 4 different podcasts about aliens in particular, and it would just get to the next week, and then the next week, and then the next week, and there's no more new information. And I love the way that all that stuff. They basically, though, if they edit it the Oak Island, right? Did you guys watch Oak Island?
Yeah, I did.
Man, you've been thinking for 15 years that there's about to be a treasure found on Oak Island, but I'd give you 15 episodes reasons that it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you don't waste a whole year, but you just spend 15 hours over a year just understanding that we're no closer to finding anything than we were when we started. So I hope there are aliens, and I wish that they would be here, but I don't know. I'm kind of the jury's out for me at the moment.
And talk about really ruining it, they're like, oh yeah, we have I grew up on X-Files. My dad, watched Star Trek when I was, going around, crawling around on the floor. And yeah, you get super excited, and then they're like, someone comes up, they're like, I work for the government somewhere, and I've seen it. And then you got Bob Lazar, he's like, I worked at Area 50.
Right.
That actually
I saw him.
Pretty convincing. But
he's real convincing.
You're feeling like the government's kind of yes, there are things we can't identify. And then I remember that day when I heard that, walking outside and being like, there are aliens. And then it just is so anticlimactic. It's just tic tacs that you can barely see. Nobody's talking about probes, or not that I was looking for probes, but just like whatever, you know.
Yeah, the ones up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
What was
like
that
just
all
went
about?
away. Apparently it was the Chinese were trying to like test for radiation or something. Maybe there was an atomic bomb. Who knows? It just gets too crazy too quick. And then depending on how much energy you give to it, like it could literally ruin your day or your night or whatever, depending on when you're online, because you never get to the end of it. You never figure out what's really going on. Like they still haven't explained what all those drones were in the New York, New Jersey area. But yeah,
Do you think we'll ever get an answer?
This kind of stuff? Oh, I don't know. They're really good at hiding all this stuff. But we're all children of the 80s, right? Like I don't know when you guys were born, but
Yep.
I was born in 79. And so like everything around it was like Close Encounters, Star Wars, the Explorers. I mean, everything that I was absorbed or kind of influenced by as a kid was always about adventure out west or adventure in the stars. And so I just eat this stuff up. I mean, I could spend hours, but unfortunately we all have to work, right? So
well, I spent a half of my childhood up in the Northwest, and we're near Boeing. We got Boeing up here,
right?
I lived out in the country, and so I've gotten into it in another episode, so I won't get into it. But I thought I saw UFO and aliens, but it could be just, I don't know. I think they test crafts at night sometimes, so people don't see. They probably do it over rural areas, but yeah, like I told actually Josh Ariza. Ariza?
Oh yeah.
Josh Ariza.
Yeah. I told him actually he was at Creative Works with me.
Yeah.
That same year.
Yep.
I think. Yeah. He spoke for Chomp. And anyways, I told him the story, and then he was like,
I'm reciting it back.
So basically you saw something above you in the sky, you don't know what it was, and now there's aliens. And I was like,
right.
Damn it, Josh.
Don't say it back to me. It sounds crazy when you read it back.
It sounds crazy, yeah.
It honestly, the whole thing kind of feels like I don't know, the show Lost, where you're just like on the edge of your seat every episode. I remember watching it when it came out, and then like it just gets crazier and crazier. Like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be some resolution that I'm happy with. Like, and then it's like, and now we're going back in time. I'm like, no,
right.
Just finish it. Just finish it. Give me some resolution. Tell me what it is and explain it all. And I feel like that's what this whole like the hunt for aliens and UFOs and all that stuff. I feel like it's just every time I watch this kind of stuff, I get so invested, and I want there to be so much, and then I'm so let down.
Dustin, did you watch Lost?
I watched some of Lost, and then like I really tried to get into it because people were addicted, and I couldn't quite fully get into it, but it seemed intriguing.
Man, we did launch parties. I made Dharma beer.
No way.
We got super creative at my house. But the ending was like, it was interesting. I don't know who, spoiler alert for anyone who's hadn't watched Lost.
Haven't watched it by now.
Yeah. Apparently someone guessed what the ending was going to be like within this, like, I don't know, third or fourth season. And then they just had to drag it out with a lot of people kind of having it in the back of their minds of what it could have been, which I think was purgatory kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, I just think that was really, really interesting, like just the genius of it and how great it was. And then towards the end, you're just like, oh man, like that last episode was not great.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you did the parties for it, because like we would do the same thing with when X-Files came back, and then when Game of Thrones, like a couple years into Game of Thrones, and Walking Dead, until Walking Dead just, I don't know, I guess they're just trying to make money and stretch things out for 2 seasons like you're talking about. But yeah, like it was just fun, you'd like make up some snacks, my brother would come over, like a neighbor would come over. It's good times.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I live for that stuff, man. It's great.
So I wanted to transition into talking to you about the conference. Like it started in Memphis, and I went there. I was a guest there couple, I don't know, gosh, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. And I remember going to Memphis.
I believe.
22?
Yeah, I think so.
22.
Yep.
And I'd never been there before, and it was such an amazing place. I saw Graceland, which was like, rock and roll history, guitar player, love all that stuff. And then it was like insane to see the MLK memorial. And then of course I think there was like chess records and some different things like that. It was just incredible. But I wondered, like, now when you do it, when you invite people to Creative Works, do you tell them it's dangerous, or is that just more of a surprise party kind of thing when they get there?
Oh my gosh. Oh,
I promised I'd keep my face straight, but I couldn't.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Well, yeah. So Memphis, if you look at, I cannot believe that we're talking about this. Thanks, Dustin. Okay. So if you look on our statistics, Memphis is, I think, number 2 or between 2 and 4 and one of the most dangerous cities in the country. I think it's the murder rate, which they judge that at, which is so crazy. I mean, especially when you're talking about like National Guard troops and things that they're trying to do about that. But, I think I've lived here this is everyone who lives in any big city, right? I've lived here for so long that like, I know where to go and I know where not to go. And so it doesn't strike me the same way. But if you get off the beaten path, I mean, like if you go to Graceland, you go through really tough parts of town. You drive through those really tough parts of town, and then you come back to like this nice oasis downtown. But I was watching a video online the other day. I mean, South Main and kind of the area that we were all hanging out at back in the day. I mean, that was really, really rough back in the day. That was like a ghost town. After MLK was shot down there, everyone moved out east. So like everyone just like white flight happened, and then it was just really, really tough. So yeah, man, Memphis is really tough. It's not the reason why I started taking the conference elsewhere, but like it's not an easy place to do a conference right now too, because of, you know, poverty, resources. Like the biggest challenges we have right now, I think, for our city is no one seems to be working on figuring out the issues that we have due to, you know, crime and poverty and those things. This city, I mean, here's my hot take on Memphis, and this is probably the hot take on a lot of places, but Memphis is just run by people who have careers in politics, and they have a lot of wealth. And when people with experience kind of get into the fold or get into the mix, or people that try to do really big things get into the mix, eventually those people get pushed down or asked to step aside. And so it just kind of stagnates and keeps things the same in a city like Memphis. And Memphis, of all places, and anywhere, you know, post-industry or in the deep South, needs to change, you know, quickly. And so that's where that's kind of where that dynamic comes from. But yes, it is very dangerous. Did you have a bad experience here? You didn't have a bad experience.
No, I mean,
we tease because we talked about it before.
Yeah. Like I just like, it's something that as I've talked and through, you know, told people about going, like they'll be like, oh yeah, and Memphis is kind of dangerous. And then after that, because I didn't know that when I went there, I didn't even think that. And then I started remembering like the first 48, and like every other episode of the first 48 would be like,
it's in Memphis, totally.
3:22 a.m. But like, in all honesty, like when I was there, it was fantastic. Like, yeah, of course, like any city, like I live next to Portland. It's got some sketch stuff going on, but I mean, it was fantastic. Sure. Like, I mean, it had so much history. It was honestly one of the most impactful moments, probably in terms of just a historical thing, seeing that MLK area. Beale Street was like, that was like magic, man. Like, and that was right before the Elvis movie came out, and then you saw more of the history of it. So, no, I actually didn't.
Was that the year?
That'd be a funny question to ask you, but it's fantastic there.
Well, no, I got real serious about that one really quickly. I didn't see that coming, but yeah, man. I mean, I think Memphis is really great. It's just really frustrating, man. If someone has a vision, I mean, it's like the biggest small town in America. I think there's even like somewhere that's written down in our history or something. And for a lot of ways, like that's good. Like that's good that it has like kind of small town charm and people are kind of fake nice and whatever. But like for someone who wants to like do really big things or change things, it's really, really frustrating. And I think Memphis is having a really tough time for a lot of different reasons. Just having a really tough time trying to get back to where, I mean, honestly, like something like Creative Works can be downtown again and then, you know, thrive like it once did. So.
It was Thank you for going into it. Actually, I mean, I think it's interesting.
I probably should have gone around that one, and I didn't.
No, I appreciate. We were scared to ask. We were like, oh, it's kind of funny. We'll see what he says about it, because truly, it's actually. I didn't even think to myself anything about it. I thought it was fantastic.
It was an amazing experience. Honestly, when I came, the funny thing was I was talking to Dustin. I was like, "Did you know it was dangerous beforehand?" Because I sure didn't until I was getting Ubered from the airport there. And I remember seeing on the freeway, there were cops like every mile just sitting on the side of the freeway. And I was like, what are those for? And he's like, oh, they're trying to curb like the drive-by shootings. And I was like, wait, where are we? And he's like, yeah, this place is actually really dangerous. What are you doing down here? And I was like, well, I'm going to this conference. My friend Josh invited me to.
But
and it ended up being an amazing experience.
I don't want to leave that on this conference, on this location for a conference, though, because like I've been to conferences in Atlanta and Cleveland, and it feels just like.
Oh, did you go to Weapons back in the day?
I did. Yeah,
I loved Weapons.
That's why I was in Cleveland. Yeah, for 2 of those, and I mean, it just. Probably statistically, maybe it's different, but it just feels like all big cities and you accept it. I mean, if I go to Portland dude, I just went to Seattle. I live right by, 3 hours from Seattle. You go up to Seattle, dude, you walk through some areas and there's just like coffee tables outside and like people sitting around it, like smoking stuff. Like it's like a living room outside in like a yard. It's wild, dude. And
it's the danger,
It's not something unique to any given place. For sure.
My wife's from Detroit. And so every time I go down to Detroit, I always had that one I knew was dangerous. And so I had all these like reservations going there with her family. And, I didn't have any bad experiences there because they knew where to go. Right. And it was,
that's right.
And they had no fear around it because they grew up there. And same thing with like, I grew up in Seattle and now we're next to Portland and I'm getting all these people from, when I moved from Idaho just a year ago, right next to Dustin here in Vancouver. Portland was one of the places everyone's like, oh my gosh, you can't even go there anymore. It's just terrible. We spend like every other weekend there as a family and we just know what areas to go to and not to go to. So yeah, to bring it back to the conference, I had an absolute blast there. Wouldn't anybody listening who's like, oh my gosh, I can't go go. It's awesome. I felt like there's so much history there. The food was amazing. It was so much fun. I had a blast where we just tease about it because it's the danger you don't know. And so it was just something that was interesting, but, I love what you're doing. And I like that you're bringing it other places like Dustin said, because, it gives everybody that opportunity to take part in that. And I think that's huge.
So related to that, we kind of talked about this before we started. I feel like so many designers, illustrators, it's a dream to be invited to be a speaker at one of these conferences. And of course you got like your super gigantic names that, you can expect would just naturally get invited, like Aaron Draplin, or we could name, on a couple on 1 or 2 hands. But for people listening that like want to go speak at a conference, like, can you, as someone that runs one of these, can you speak to like what the motivations are, what you're looking for in people, what they should be aiming to do to present themselves well or prepare to try to get that opportunity?
Yeah. So I mean, people do it a lot of different ways, in a mixture of both. I mean, there is definitely like kind of a pay to play, thing involved. And you kind of can't ignore that these days. If like Adobe says, hey, we're going to give you 10 grand or 5 grand or even $2,500, you're going to find a way to put someone from Adobe on stage doing something. And even honestly, like I've got some folks from Figma, and they're not giving me any money. They're going to be presenting at Creative Works Online. But so that's one part of it. And the trouble with pay to play is that if you don't handle that well, it just is like one big commercial, right? Because the marketing team is what's behind that presentation and they're just trying to sell you on something. And so regardless of how authentic the person is or how great that presentation is, there's always this bend that doesn't come off the same way as just asking someone to speak. And so I've curated the lineup from for Creative Works from the get-go since 2014. And what I'm always looking for, even though I have so many amazing friends, what I'm always looking for is that one post or that one product or that one piece on brand new, and not brand new is not a great example, but there's still a lot of work that goes on brand new. Love that website. And I hear the conference is fantastic. And I know you guys had Armin on the other day. So what I'm looking for is that one thread of like humanity in the midst of their work that helps people understand like, hey, this goes a little bit deeper than just being cool. This goes a little bit deeper than just being an influencer. This goes a little bit deeper than, some service level or, following or something like that. Because, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of it, I mean, we're in this industry. So I feel a lot of us get to this age where we're like, what did I do this for? Right. And if you go to a conference, what I want to be reminded of selfishly is like, hey, I got into this for a reason. I may have gotten into it younger when I was cool, but as I grew up or as I grew in the industry, I got into it because I understood my power and my value as a creative person and someone who didn't go with the grain and someone who was trying to disrupt things. And I can really make a lot of cool shit happen. And I'm going to try to put stories from those people on the stage. And I try to do that as much as possible because, I mean, we've had heavy hitters. I mean, we've had Aaron Draplin, we've had Jessica Hish, we've had all these really amazing people. But then when you ask them to like, and no shade at any of these folks too, but you ask them to like promote, they don't really promote. And I used to, you'd have to pay these people to promote your conference, but that's not even really possible anymore. And you want them to share authentically about it, but they're either too busy, their feeds are too curated, but they're just not able to promote it the same way that you want them to. And there's a lot of other factors other than that I don't know that like the heavy hitters are actually the ones that people are buying tickets for anymore either. I'm trying to figure that out right now, frankly.
But before we get too far away from how you were describing that, because I love how you described this person, like someone who there's a humanity to them along with the neat thing, like this thread of humanity or almost like a human
like conviction.
Yeah, exactly. Can you give like an example of that, like to like paint a picture of it, can you give an example of someone that's been there recently like that?
Well, I'll tell you about someone that's going to be there at some point, Brad. So I love what Brad is doing. And I'm not doing this because he put me on the podcast, but like I've got these books somewhere back here. They're books that I got when I was a kid. I went to the library in kindergarten, first, second, third grade, fourth grade, before girls were in the picture. I went to the library and I just got paper and just traced how to draw, dinosaurs, Fred and Barney, all these characters, right? And my kids don't go to the library anymore. They have a library at their school, but it's a very different thing. It's more like a computer class. And and I saw Brad putting out these really amazing books, which is like how to draw this, how to draw a dinosaur, how to draw an animal, whatever. And they're coming from that same place that I felt like as a kid, and then he's sharing it in the same way that he wants others to have the ability to do that, especially when they're not going to the library. I mean, I have a library down the street that I never go to. I have a 5-year-old son too, which, I told Brad I want these books, but it's like, I'm just trying to find that like thing that like got them into it in the first place, that shred of like, conviction, if you will, that like really just sold them on the idea of putting themselves out there. Right. Not with just doing cool work, not with just going with the grain or doing what someone else was doing, but what was the thing that kind of that got you to put yourself out there? And then I tell them to talk about it. So I try not to let people come in with like, hey, I do this talk on such and such, and that's what I do.
Sure.
Honestly, that's the biggest turnoff. And I have to say, I get it because they spent time crafting that talk. And they want to get paid for that talk. But for the most part, I want to find someone who just really like wants to share something I'm kind of interested in hearing, or at least weaving that throughout their talk. And that's why those themes that you see at the conference, like United We Create or Build with Conviction, Commit to Craft, Failure Growth, all of these things. I'm trying to get that thread of humanity out from these people so that they'll literally remind folks who are sitting in the seats, like why they got into this in the first place, or highlight the possibilities of creative work and career for them as they grow older in the industry. So
you mentioned like, cause I have noticed that there are people that literally have, it's almost like a menu of talks that they can do.
Yep.
And I was like, what a great idea. That makes it easier for the conference to find certain talks. And it's like, you can pick them and kind of know what you're going to get. So when people reach out and, present or kind of work themselves into getting this kind of thing, does that work well, or is it better to just be on the radar and not ask about it and like just kind of be interesting?
I think the most annoying people ask me to speak at the conference, and I'm saying that.
You dodged the bullet, Dustin. You didn't ask him officially.
Okay. No. But like, so, and I bet people would. I mean, there are some really amazing people that have asked to speak at the conference or said they'd like to speak at the conference. But the people who are kind of persistent and just come out and ask, like, hey, I want to come and share about X, Y, and Z. The majority of those folks probably didn't look at the website. They didn't understand that it's a creative conference, or it's creative first. It's not about marketing. It's not about digital. It's not about, it's a creative first conference. It's, we really cater to like brand designers and brand professionals, working in digital, print, traditional media. But a lot of them you're like, here's what it is too, is like a lot of them, that's what they do. They make money speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My budgets for conference, my honorariums that I pay people, it's $500, no matter if you're Jessica Hish or you're Josh Horton or someone that no one knows. Right. And so, that's another thing that I run into. Like, there are people that, I talked to someone on the phone the other day, they want $20,000. And I'm like, well, hey, you're never going to speak at this conference. And they don't get it. They don't get it. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that, sorry, I didn't really finish this thought, but there are a lot of people who's like, that's their thing, is like they get paid to go speak somewhere and they sell books or they sell posters or whatever it is. And that's how they get their income. And I'm more interested in people. Yes, it's great to have Aaron Draplin. I love Aaron. He's such a sweetheart and, such a person of conviction too, and especially around his dad and, when all that stuff was going down and just like why he does what he does. It's come from such a childlike place, which I think is really fantastic. But, there's only so many Aaron Draplins out there, and there's only so many Jessica Hishes out there. And once you've had them come through your conference, especially if they want more money or however they're trying to make money, sometimes it's just not a great fit. So I'm in the process now, honestly, of like trying to figure out, and sometimes too, sorry, I have ADD, but like sometimes great. Too,
I love it.
People who want to speak, like, again, that's what they do primarily. And so they're not constantly doing work. It's like a professor that's like no longer working. It's not that they're not relevant. It's just that people want to know what you're working on, and they want to know like how does this translate into the work that I'm going to do Monday? And I think you have a better presenter who's someone who's actually doing the work and in the thick of it with you than someone who's kind of like a professional speaker, if you will, or an influencer,
Yeah.
I
kind of want to emphasize
these days are kind of like design-tainers. I could, like they're entertainers and designers mixed. They're not actually doing work as much as they're performing work. Which I mean, there's space for. I think it's cool, but you're right. It's very different.
I kind of resonate. No, what I was saying is like, I'm glad you say that because, there's definitely a lot of conferences that I've said the opposite, right? They're like, give me your canned speech, like give me your canned lecture, workshop, and we'll kind of, take a look at it, see if it fits within the schedule or whatever, or the theme or whatever they want to go through. And I always had a really hard time with that personally. And the only reason I say that is because I feel like every single time I try to automate my life, and I'm like, okay, yeah, if I had a lecture, I put it up on my website and said, this is the lecture, this is the thing I talk about. It'd be so easy. It'd be so much easier, I should say, because then it's like something I don't have to prepare as much. It's just the same thing. I continue to hone it a little bit. I have the slides, all those kind of things are there. I know exactly how to deliver it and how it'll go, what jokes will land, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I really want that for myself, but I self-sabotage in a way. Like, I do this with art too. It would be so much easier if I had one illustration style that I just lived and died by. Sometimes I really, really wish I had that, just because I could continue to hone that. It feels like it'd be easier in a lot of ways. Instead of I go through every single project feels like it's a new illustration style that I'm testing out or something like that. A new challenge I'm presenting myself. Going back to the speaking though, I think what makes it difficult when you have these canned speeches and you use them for so long, it's hard to determine when you want to change that up, because every year I feel like the message I'm sharing, it alters a little bit depending on what I've experienced, or, especially if it's like multiple years past since the last time I gave this lecture. I look back at it and they're like, can you give us that one? And I'm like, no, I don't want to say that thing anymore. I've already said it. I'm exhausted by that. And it's similar in the ADHD thing. It's like, I definitely feel like I have this, I don't want to talk about that. I'm done with that. I'm moving on to the next thing. What's happening to me now? And what do I want to talk about? Like, and I think that's a really good way to approach finding people, like you said, because that's what's most interesting to me when I go listen to these speakers. It's not the big names. It's just these people that surprise me by their story. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah. I can't remember. There was one conference I went to. This gal talked about starting up an aquarium or something. She was a designer. And I was like, what? Or she saved an aquarium or some crazy thing that I was like, that's so cool. I love that. And knew nothing about her work. But I really became a big fan of her, and that resonated with me. So I love that.
Well, I think somewhere along the way, like I think maybe this is not true for, obviously I can't say everyone. I mean, I think that's never good to just kind of speak in those terms, but somewhere along the way that speaking at a conference was the goal, right? Mm-hmm. I've been told by so many people that like, all I've ever wanted to do is speak at your conference. And it's like, what? Like, where did that come from? Like, thank you. That's amazing. And again, that maybe that's coming off wrong. But it's this idea that like, that's the goal, is to like be in front of an audience and get, or to have a lot of followers, or there's just something about that aspect of becoming an influencer, or kind of like your ego that gets wrapped up in that type of mentality that I see, and I just don't like it. Again, there is a space for everyone in this industry. But I want to hear more about a human connection. Again, I don't nail my lineups every time. Every year I feel like there's a few people that like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see this. I'm usually the MC, so I get to watch the talks while everyone's talking. But it's getting, I mean, I just got to be honest, like it's getting really hard to put together a really great lineup. It's getting really hard to find people to take a risk on, right? Like, I mean, I think that's what you end up doing these days. At least there used to be these huge budgets from Adobe and MailChimp and all these other companies, Figma, that they would just give you money and you could just roll the dice and pick whoever you wanted. And I feel like that's when Creative Works was really special, because I wasn't worried about that. And now I'm worried about like, man, if I get this person and they don't have a big following, is anyone going to know who they are? Like I'm constantly... I know I'm constantly trying to juggle like 20 thoughts in my mind when I pick the lineups. And further, like I reach out to probably 20 people a year that don't even get back to me or don't give me the time of day, that's really tough too. It's like, you're amazing. I want you to tell your story, and then they don't ever, they ghost me or they don't ever respond. And man,
which
so
it's
really,
really
tricky.
Why you want them.
Totally.
Know what they're doing around trying to attract conferences, and as a result, they're like, I'm not even doing it because of that. And it's interesting.
I'm surprised how many people don't want to speak. Like they just don't feel like. I mean, I understand the fear of speaking, but I invite people to like video content. I'm like, hey, you want to be on my like Brave Kids Club, or you want to go on a Brave the Woods episode or something, or even on Creative Slash on this. Like I've asked some amazingly talented people, and they're just like, nah, it's not my thing. I don't like to be in front of the camera. I don't like to hear my voice or whatever it is. I don't feel like I'm qualified. And I'm like, no, I really want to hear their story.
Josh, are you familiar with like Chris Golibo? I think that's how you say his
I
name.
know.
He made The Art of Nonconformity, and then he made a conference called the World Domination Summit.
No, it sounds awesome.
Oh, okay. It was just, there was a time, and I was curious if like you remember this time, like, and you were kind of referring to this time where there was just creatives and artists and all sorts of creators like that were online doing all sorts of weird stuff. People hadn't really systematized how to make money from it yet. And so you'd get like Paul Jarvis is someone I think of. He made like Chimp Essentials for using MailChimp and had a fantastic blog that he made for no reason. And there was all these people doing that, and they didn't do it. They didn't have a plan for how it was going to work. And I feel like everyone is so much more savvy. Like, are you kind of referring to that kind of culture that used to be around where people were doing things just for the sake of doing it?
Yes. I mean, that's exactly what I'm referring to, because so I started this career in 2002, on an accident. I was a recording engineer at a studio here in Memphis, and I saw some stupid thing in a studio, and my naive little mind was like, oh my God, I could never be in a recording studio again. And so I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Well, I love album art. I'll just start doing album art for people. And that actually turned out to be pretty great. But, I got started so long ago that like, I never knew that conferences were a thing. We never knew that like being a rock star designer was a thing. Like the thing that you got when you were a rock star designer, when I started, was a book. And that was like a huge deal, right? Like
dude,
your work just got put in.
I always wanted one of those big pencils.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got your work, like your portfolio was like immortalized, like Chip Kid or something like that was like immortalized in the book, or the Sagmeister or whatever. Like that was like the goal. Yeah, and then, somewhere along the way, I just think people, I think what it is, and I could be wrong about this, but I think they think that if I speak at this conference, so many people are going to know who I am, and that's going to give me so much more opportunities, which is going to end up in so much more money for me. Right. And again, there's no shade in that either. People need to make a living, but like, it just seems, in some ways, it seems kind of wrapped up in ego, in a way that just is, for me, it's a bit of a turnoff, where what I really want is someone who's focused on the work and has like a story to share. And like, I'm trying to get that story from them versus them trying to get that story to me. And I do need to recognize, sorry for my brain, but like, I do need to recognize that I think one of the things that we all want as creatives is to tell our story, and we want to be known. And so to ever deny anyone that is really shitty thing to do. But there's not enough time in the day. I mean, you can't, unless the podcast is like, bring anyone on, and at any time, maybe that's what this is. But like, I feel like there's gotta be like there's gotta be something deeper there, because this profession's not going to go away. AI is not going to, be the thing. And I just want to find and connect with people who this work really matters to, so that those of us who believe the same thing in the same way can kind of just keep going on together and reminding everyone else, even those that aren't creative, of our value and what we bring into the world.
Well, that's a great transition into, so you have Creative Works Online.
Yep.
That's happening on October 2nd and 3rd, I believe.
Yeah. So we had Creative Works East, that was happening in Brooklyn for our second year. Man, I thought we were on this really amazing trajectory, and then our ticket sales just weren't coming in, and we pivoted to an online event. And yes, October 2nd and 3rd, we're going to do a couple of software demos. I may add 2 more to that, but we're doing at least 2 software demos, and then we're doing, I think 10 presentations, like, stories like we just talked about. And then throughout the rest of the month, and then into November on Saturdays, we're doing, workshops, 3-hour workshops, interactive online workshops through Zoom. Oh, nice. And they don't overlap, so you can take as many as you want. And, I was just trying to figure out a way. I mean, yes, money's involved. Yes, I'm trying to make money doing this. This is all I do, by the way. And so, but at the end of the day, like, there's so many people that just don't have a job, or they can't go back to a 4-year college, or they just don't have the opportunities to get connected and grow and be inspired by really amazing work. And so I had to find a way to make it available to more people without, breaking the bank. And that's what birthed out of Creative Works Online, which we did something similar in 2021 when we went online after the pandemic.
I love that because I think you're right. I mean, really I went to a conference for the first time because I was invited to do a workshop maybe, or maybe speak. I can't remember, but they basically paid for me to go out. And I would have never gone to a conference before because it's so much money. I was like, how on earth do people afford to go to these? Why would you? The economics didn't make sense to me. And I went out to it and they're amazing. I mean, I have met my best friends in my adult life. I still talk to all of them today, and opportunities more, 10x, 20x in terms of a business through these relationships. And it wasn't just a transaction. It was that you got to know someone and you found something together. You're like, you should do that. Or yeah. And can you do this for me? Like, I think you'd be really good at that. And I think that's why they're so fun. And so, yeah, I love that. I love that it's online because you can have that same experience online, even if you can't afford to pay, the $600 for a ticket to get out there and whatnot.
Yeah. And that's one day we'll be in person again. It's just right now, it's really difficult. And I hate to be the guy that's always saying, I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, no one has a crystal ball, obviously, but like the economics of it all have to work. And if businesses aren't sponsoring things, and honestly, like Adobe and Figma and all these really amazing, products, they have their own communities based around their own events based around their own communities. Mm-hmm. And so independent creative conferences and communities aren't as meaningful to them anymore. And that's okay. That makes total sense on paper.
Yeah.
And so I have to find a way, like, so what's my difference? What do I believe in? How do I help share that with others so that they don't feel alone? And how can we all come together as a group? Because every conference has its own ethos. Like it's like the thing, like some of them are just great hangs, right? Mm-hmm. And those are so needed. Some of them they go deep. Like I tried to go deep so people remember who they are and I'll get emotional, but just they remember what they were created to do or something. I don't know the best way to put that or say that, but anyway, it's needed. We'll be in person again. I mean, there's just the isolation that we all feel right now. I think Brad, you and I were talking about this on chat the other day. Yeah. Just the isolation that we all feel right now because it's just not easy for us to all just go and hang out somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's not easy for us we all live in different cities than our friends do. And then we all have families now or mortgages and kids. And, my kid just got home from practice, but I took him there. I carved out a few hours out of my day to take care of that stuff. And so it's not going to go away. And it's definitely really, really healthy for us to do these things in person. But like, we've just got to find we've got to find a new way of economics. And I'm not a business guy. And I've got to find a new way to do it so that we can impact more people and bring more people together. And it's not just kind of for entertainment's sake or I definitely don't think there's anything wrong with, entertainment or hang time, but like I've got to find a different economics behind it to figure out how to make it work again.
What you're saying hits hard for me because maybe all of us feel this way. I'd be curious if you guys share this sentiment. So I think we're all dads, right? Yeah. So we're all dads. I'm in my 40s. You're in your 40s. Brad looks like he's in his 40s, but he's actually just in his 30s.
Shocker. I'm actually 39. Thank you very much.
Nice.
No, Brad, you look fantastic. But like I found like the things that I was excited about when I was like in my 20s, like starting as a designer and trying to figure out what I was doing, it drops away. You don't care about certain things anymore.
That's right.
You get some of the things you wanted and you realize that they're not fulfilling you in the same way. And you kind of start looking around being like having an existential crisis. You're like, what is the point?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? What part of it even matters? Why am I going to all the trouble of it? And I think like when you talk about, I'm looking for people that are just doing things because it's exciting. That resonates with me because I feel that same way. You just get where you're just like, I don't want to compare myself to this other person. I don't want to watch a performer go out. I want to watch someone that's just like me and just doing something. And that's all there is to it, because it starts to feel like at some point that really at the end of the day, like all there is to it is that you're doing it. And there's not any more complicated answer than that. I guess my whole point being that you get to a certain point in your life and what matters changes and you're
and it should probably, right? If we're all honest with ourselves. I mean, I love being that kid, right? Like that kid, that is totally me. But at the same time, like I bought this fucking house and I have 4 kids and 2 are in college. And, I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, yes, all that stuff is fun, but it just changes. Your priorities change. And I think the real thing, and I was just talking to Nathan Paretic at Cotton Bureau today. We're working on something, we're working on a t-shirt for the online conference. But, the gist is that we've got to find a way for guys and people our age, basically, to make conferences matter again. That's another thing. Like we get a bunch of every year. This is so amazing. Every year at Creative Works, whether it's West or East, or when it was back here in Memphis, we get young people that it's their first or second or third time. And they're just so on fire, right? They just have this like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I just shook hands and danced with David Carson or I don't, whatever it is. Like, this guy named Sean Fox. Do y'all know who Sean Fox is? I forget what his studio's name.
I don't know.
But he played drums with Darren King at our conference in Memphis, which was just mind blowing. He's a drummer. He's a creative, really talented guy, and he just ended up playing drums with like one of his hero drummers at our conference, right? And so you just have all these really amazing experiences, but eventually you have, like, I guess, this stall in our lives where whether it's kids or responsibilities or whatever it is. And we get out of the going back to conferences. And that's a nut that I would love to crack. Like I would love to figure out how to get a bunch of guys, I mean, selfishly, a bunch of guys like us or, older designers, out to conferences again and to valuing this stuff again. I think the pandemic, I don't know what you guys think. I would love to kind of discuss this if you got time. But why? I think the pandemic got us really comfortable, like being in our own places, doing our own things on our own time, in our pajamas or shorts or whatever. And like, people just don't want to go out as much as they used to. And I don't know how to crack that egg other than to, start selling really hardcore, which is something I don't like to do. Like Dustin, kudos, man. Like your marketing emails are on point. All that is so amazing. But like,
I just don't, Brad, I think you're excellent at selling. But I'll digress there.
Thank you. But
you did.
Like, I just don't like that part of it. There's a part of me that just feels like this is weird, but there's a part of me that feels like it's church, and the more marketing that it is, the weirder it is. The more you have to convince people of your value, the worse you probably are, and maybe there's a little, I don't know if there's ego or shame wrapped up. Both of those things are probably wrapped up in that, but like, there's something about what's going on with creative community and with community these days that in person and togetherness is just not valued the same way. And it's the hardest nut to crack right now, because it's not just me. Yeah. It's like AIGA New York is having this problem, and Circles Conference is having this problem. And I haven't talked to Mike Jones or anyone else or Armin in the space, but like, they've got to be dealing with the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, since COVID, I used to go to conferences multiple times a year. COVID happened and I never went back. And I've been wanting to, but I don't.
Same with me.
Is it because here's what I was just telling Nathan this from Cotton Bureau. Like, I think it's because I just don't have the cash to do it anymore. I just frankly don't. I don't have an extra $1,000 that I can just not burn, but even invest back into myself, if that makes sense.
Yes.
There's just
spot on. That's for me.
Okay.
That's for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that it's about the money, but I mean, it's clear. I mean, like, everybody's dealing with this. I mean, like, the whole industry, I feel like struggling even to get work sometimes. I feel like there's just a lot of, I don't know, insecurity in the profession right now. So for me, after COVID, I don't know what it was. I think COVID did hurt. I mean, it hurt business quite a bit for me. And so, all of a sudden you're thinking about money and where you're allocating those funds, but also my kids are getting older. And like you said, like now all of a sudden I have a teenager and I'm just like, oh, life's really expensive. And then nothing's getting cheaper. Like, everything's getting more expensive. And what sucks is I talk so fondly about the conferences I've attended, Creative Works, when I went and you'd invited me to that one. And that was such a cool experience. And when I went to Creative South and Circles, all of them, I feel like they're, like Dustin said, I made lifelong friends there. I have amazing memories. It was such a fun time. I felt like I was motivated when I came home, to work harder and to try different things that I learned at the conference or collaborate with some of these people. It's one of those things that's like, I feel like it's easier to sell somebody on that high after while they're on it. Like later I'm like, now I'm like, next year, all of a sudden, my kid gets braces and I'm like, well, I can't just splurge for myself, when in reality, it does bring a lot of opportunity and work.
Yeah,
it really does.
You would pay for itself.
It would, because Dustin and I were just talking. We were talking about how we spend our time and how he assumes I spend my time, because he's like, I don't understand how you get done what you get done, because
it seems like he's got so much extra time. I'm like, you just draw. It seems like you're just drawing and getting on calls, and it's crazy, man.
He's teasing because I'll get on a call like every couple days or something like that with somebody. Like you and I, chatted for like an hour or something like that the other, like a few months back. And I do it with just anybody. I just like to keep in contact with people. And I was talking to Tim Barron this morning, and it's just, I prioritize people, and I feel like I feel like I've done that with my jobs as well, like with my clients, and I still keep in contact with my clients like they're my friends. And then I get opportunities because I'm top of mind, and we just kind of dream together and come up with ideas. So I really wish, that's so huge for me. And I wish I could, I need something to in my own brain. I should be like, okay, you're going to get that back. You're going to get something back from going to this. And you have to just pull the trigger sometimes and go to these conferences when you kind of feel like it's not going to do anything for you. I think that paired with the problem is I think, kids are getting older, so you start having more expensive, but also as we get older, we get a little more jaded, I feel like, and I'm starting to be like, I'm not going there to hear somebody yell at me and say you got to hustle, you got to just stay up all night, got to grind and hustle. And not saying that your conference does it, but I'm saying there are people that have done that, and I've heard those, and they were super motivating for me when I was a younger designer, when I was really growing up in this. And so now that's not the message that I care about. I care more about the hangouts in between. Hence Creative Slash. That's what this is supposed to feel like.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to sell. What's so crazy is someone was like the other day, they were like, hey, you just need to create a conference. I love all these unsolicited opinions. You need to create a conference where people just hang out the whole time. And I'm like, so
conference.
Well, so what boss is going to pay for that? Now I could probably sell that as celebrating creative. I mean, this is a part of every conference, right? You celebrate creative work and talent and the craft and the profession and all that stuff. But what boss is going to pay for you to go hang out somewhere? How is your wife going to be cool with that, or your partner? Are they going to be cool with you just going to hang out in some random city in the country? Again, we could go down a rabbit hole here, but yeah, right. Are they going to pay for you to go to Memphis and go dance and get drunk at Rayford's? I mean, all of those things are necessary. Hanging out, getting drunk at Rayford's, and almost shot in Memphis it's necessary. It's a part of everything that you should be going through in your life. But, I don't know, man. I've got to crack this egg. I really feel deeply that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I think I'm doing it wrong or something. I don't know what's going on, but it's just not, it doesn't have the same, Brad, I'm with you, man. I feel the same way. I just don't have the extra income anymore to drive down to Circle. I could probably get a free ticket from Ishmael to go to Circles. Yeah. And I'm like, but there's 10 excuses there that will make me not do that.
And you're not working while you're there too, even. Like that's like a super small one, but I'm like, that's time I could be working. Well, I hate that I feel that way.
Dude, I remember when I was there's the other thing. I was back in the day when I went to a lot of conferences, I was making 6 figures, and it was 6 figures without a lot of struggle, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was hustling, I was working hard, right? But there was margin in my life back then. Maybe the kids came in and that took up some of that stuff, but like, it's a different time. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm trying to crack that nut, if that's a phrase, but I'm also trying to figure out how to bring people along too. Like how to this is my only job and I don't have money to pay other people. So like, how do I get other people to help me do what I do? Like, it's crazy. I'm having an existential event planner crisis right now.
I can tell you, like, because I did go to one conference after COVID, and it was your conference. That's the one and only one I ever went to after it. And my situation is
that's not a good thing. You didn't go back.
Well, yeah. But, okay, so check this out, because I have a theory here about like maybe
you're the reason why I stopped
for some people. I think Brad's definitely onto something about what he's describing, but I could afford to go back. Like, I'm running my business. I basically feel like every time I've ever gone to a conference, it's essentially paid for itself in some way, through some relationship, through some partner, through something. So I've always felt like it's a good investment. But part of it is, my kids are a little older. Creative South, which I go to a lot. I used to go to a lot, was in spring break. I only have a handful of spring breaks with my kids before they grow up. So do I want to miss their spring break to go to a conference? But also, when COVID happened, there was a network effect. I think you're experiencing it, and all conferences are, this networking effect. So when I'd go back, one year I go back, and it's kind of, people aren't sure because of COVID. Can you go back, or is there going to be a burst of it in the spring, or some weird thing happens, right? So then I'm like, okay, well, is my friend Lenny going? Is Lydia going? Is Diane going? And then you're not sure if they're going. And then the first couple of years I went, someone invited me to speak, and then they invited me to a workshop at another one. And so you're kind of feeling like you're in the fold. And then all those years, a couple of years go by, COVID happens, then you're not sure if these people are going to be there again. And then you're thinking about going, but you're not being invited to do something. So you're not in the fold in any way. And you're like, am I going to end up going to listen to speakers that are going to be pumping their fists in the air, and then I'm going to spend the rest of my time in a hotel room missing my kids? Yeah. And you know what I mean? So there is, and it's like, you problem need a buddy pass. To get a bunch of people to go. Every person that goes further entrenches the desire to want to go.
You need a buddy pass, Dustin. That's what it is. If you said you go, and then if you get a pass with somebody else, like together, you two are like, you get some sort of discount because you're two people are buying it together. Like that. Because that's Dustin. I'm glad you said that, because that was Scott Fuller for Creative South, and Josh Lewis and Jason Karn, and like we all like roomed together and hung out, and they were the ones that kind of introduced me to everybody. In Austin, Texas, that was Ty Wilkins.
Go out to breakfast with people, dinner, like you want to sit next to people at the conference.
But you want somebody. That's so right, though. I mean, like it helped that I had somebody that I was like, oh, my default is I can always hang out with this person. And it's kind of nice. Like I kind of wait to hear who's going to go, who else is attending, not the speakers, who else is just attending the conference. Cause that's who I want to spend time with. And, that's interesting. Dustin, you and I were talking about, and my wife, Crystal, she's the woman behind the curtain that kind of runs a lot of Brave the Woods. And so, she just doesn't care to be in the spotlight, but we had talked about having doing a conference-esque type of thing. And we're like, what if it was family oriented? Like, yeah, there were things for you, but it was also like a vacation for the family. And what would that look like? How would we entertain the kids? How could we team up with local tourism, the local tourism board, and figure out like, where's the kids museum, and give them a discount to go visit that while you're there? I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking of that because of the point I'm in, the stage I'm in, and how that would make me go on that trip.
Well, I'm gonna give out some free advice for anyone who wants to throw a conference in Orlando. If you want to do that, I will go to it. I tried to do my first Creative Works East there with Full Sail University.
Oh yeah, that's where you went, right? Or didn't you?
I that's where I got my recording degree.
Okay, yeah.
And I worked really, really hard to do that, but like their whole, they're a whole organization that's like any organization, even some of the organizations I work with now, like you're an outside vendor. And so you've got to pay for our venues like anyone would expect, but I can't do these conferences anymore without partnerships with venues and schools and things like that. But if you we were trying to put our first Creative Works East event in Orlando for the longest time. And we were going to plan it out so that like you went to the conference at the beginning of the week and you could spend the rest of the week at Disney.
Oh man. See, that's a good selling point. It's a vacation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a vacation destination for your family. So like your family can either fly up and do things while you're there, or they can fly up when you're done and you can spend the rest of the time because you're already there. But you just I've got to find a way to you selling tickets anymore for $500+ I think for at least for my audience is really tough. So I don't know how you make that happen and make dollars and cents too. But yeah, I would love to do something like that too. I think that's a great point.
I wonder if there's something to, because like, for instance, going to Creative Works in Memphis, I mean, man, there's so much design and culture there. I mean, there's so much, you have these early rock and roll and blues labels there. You have, Beale Street and all these kind of, I'd heard about this. I remember the Hood Sisters, Hoodspud just come out with a font called, I think, Beale Street.
Beale,
and, and it was like, and then the MLK thing was like, man, that was emotional. I mean, it was like dead silent. Anytime you go there, it's dead silent. There's like 24 people there and it's dead silent. It's powerful. I didn't know any of that was going to be there. Like, granted, I don't think I received all the marketing emails you had reached out to me, but like, I think those kind of things are not pushed enough at these kind of things. Same thing happened in Cleveland. Same thing happened with Creative South. Like, you're not really told the story of what you're seeing. I think it's easy to become blind to how amazing the place you're having this thing is to the people that don't live there.
Because if you treat it like a work trip,
in the history of like the United States, it was crazy.
Yeah, because if you treat it like a work trips have like a really negative connotation in my head, at least, is because it's like, yeah, you're going to go to this awesome city. It doesn't matter how cool the city is. You're hardly ever going to see any part of it. You're just going to be there in the evening eating out, and then you're going to go and be in meetings all day. And then you're going to go out, you're going to eat out. So you don't really see the city or experience the city. That's totally different with a conference. That's completely
different. Especially for design, because design wraps into all these things so much.
Yeah. I feel like it's like you want like a pass. What do they call it? I think they do it for, there's a city called Camas in Washington here. And they do like this little passport program. I know it's for kids, but I like the idea of it. It's like,
totally.
They have it. So you go, it basically gives you a reason to go visit all these places around Camas so the kids can like experience different things and maybe go to a company or a store they've never been to that has some cool things for them, or a little museum over here. And I like that they check those off and they have a reason to do it. Yeah, you have a reason to do it. Like all the McMinimans out here.
Yeah. I would love to do that. For anyone who's listening in Memphis, I want to bring the conference back here. I'm just trying to find the right support, because we'll tell the right story. It's just that in cities like Memphis, it's all about museums and food. And like, if you're not bringing 10,000 people, I'm only bringing like a few hundred, and they're pretty amazing. But like, if you're not bringing 10,000 people, like no one really cares. And I know the people at like Memphis Travel, good people, they sponsored us before, but like, they just don't get a return.
Yeah.
And I don't have the capacity to like sell all the time. And so, but yeah, I think the next, I don't know if we'll do Brooklyn again, just because it's so expensive to do things there. But I think the best thing to do is to go to like these second tier cities and try to put on events there. But the hardest thing to do these days is like, normally you'd spend $30,000 plus on a venue. And like, there's no more $30,000 plus to spend on a venue. That's about how much we were spending in Memphis on a venue. And I was trying to pull every string I could. And we were spending so much money here. So yeah, but I love, beyond work though, we just all need to hang out more in person. I think that's the bottom line,
We want to get to know each other as humans, not just artists. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I feel like, Dustin, this is a good time to start. We promised you this was not just going to be talking about your career and all that stuff. Although this was amazing, and it typically tends to do that because this is what we enjoy and it's part of us. But I do feel like we're doing an injustice here if we don't jump into some of your things beyond that. Like, I know you had mentioned that you like to play music with your son, and I was super curious about that. What are you guys playing? What instruments do you play, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so back in the day, I considered myself a drummer. Like, I guess I don't know what I would be like, what I would be now. I mean, I was more your like Tom Petty, Dave Grohl kind of drummer with nothing fancy. I played for a handful of bands here in Memphis back in the day, and I have a son now who's 14, and I bought him a guitar a few years ago. And initially nothing clicked, but for some reason in the last like few years, something really clicked with him. And we got him another guitar, and then we were able to save up and get him an even better guitar. And so now he and I will come into this office, like behind me, you can't see it. I've got like a little digital Roland drum set, and then he's got an amplifier and a pedal board. And basically like we come in here and we jam out to like stuff that I was listening to in the early 2000s, like emo, pop punk stuff. And man, it is the best. I mean, I'll get emotional about this quick, but like, it's the best. It's like, you're doing something with your kid who is kind of like what you would do with a buddy. And like, you're just connecting on this different level, and he's feeling it. You're feeling it. It's what life's about, honestly. So
that's beautiful. It resonates especially with me. And I know, Dustin, you'll have, I'm sure you feel similarly, but my son's 13. And so I'm realizing he's got some valid opinions now, and he cares about things more. And, he's taking more of an interest in things, and I feel like it's him and I like hanging out. I could start seeing a lot more of myself in him, which I never really felt with my oldest. I just felt like he and I were so incredibly different, and in the ways that we were the same is what kind of made us butt heads for so long. But now I'm finally finding things that he and I are both just loving, and I'm starting, even if it's something simple, like I'm just introducing him to all these old movies, like he'd never seen Happy Gilmore, and things like all these old Adam Sandler movies he's like loving, man. And I'm starting introducing all these other movies that I just that meant a lot to me, and it's been fun. Or music, and he has great taste in music. Oh my gosh, like I was like, you listen to the playlists of my other kids, and I'm just like, come on, what is this? And then my son will just be like, oh, did you hear this artist dropped this new album? And he's keeping me updated. And it's so fun to have a shared hobby and passion. And it means a lot to me. So I love that it's music too, because you're creating together. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a thing that I've done. I mean, drawing on a sketchbook and playing drums is a thing that I've done since I was 5. Right. And so it's like it's the thread, and just to have a creative kid in that way is really special. Sorry. I'm also, if you guys know me, I'm the crier. I'm like the guy that gets on stage and like starts crying every time. It's ridiculous, but it's real.
No, I love that.
I have so we've kind of compiled some questions that they're kind of shorter questions. I was calling them like quick fire questions. They're not quite quick fire.
Sure.
But I love to ask them. They don't really fit together in any logical way, but I think they're fascinating to hear the answer to.
You can say skip if it doesn't, if it's too big of a question.
So if you don't mind indulging us, we'll ask you a couple of these questions. And if you can't answer one or can't think of anything, that's okay. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months or recent memory? This is a question stolen from Tim Ferriss, FYI. But
so nobody come at us.
Oh man. I mean, honestly, it's going to be like a cheap Lego set or something. I mean, I just bought one the other day because my kids gave me some money for my birthday, but I bought that Game Boy set. I don't have it yet, but there's a new Game Boy set that has like this lenticular screen on it. It hasn't impacted me just yet, but I've bought it. I've pre-ordered it. But it's little things like that like really impact me. Like I get to play with my hands. I get to like do something, and then my 5-year-old's like grabbing his Duplos and like trying to build with me or something like that. Like those kind of things really have an impact. But I'm trying to think of like something I've literally purchased. I don't know. There's so much junk in this room, guys. The stuff that's off camera. Oh my gosh.
Hey, I'm not gonna judge you. Definitely not, man. So you always say it looks like you have a bunch of fandoms back there.
Yeah.
What is it that what is one of your fandoms that you're just like live and die by? You're like, I grew up
Back
on
to
this.
the Future.
Oh, I was looking back and I was kind of thinking Star Wars, but Back to the Future. I love that.
Well, the Millennium Falcon, I had that as a kid, and that's just what a cool Lego set. That's ridiculous, by the way. I don't know if y'all had that. I bought that like 4 years ago when it came out, and then I just put it together this year. But the Goonies, there's not a lot of toys from that. Back to the Future has a lot of stuff now. Didn't really have a lot of stuff then. But I think the reason why Star Wars is because we all grew up with those Hasbro toys, you know, like that was was it Mattel? I think it's Mattel now. Ken. It was Ken. Yes. Yeah. Kenner or
Kenner.
Yeah. Kenner. I don't know.
It's Ken something. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Blue logo.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, and I had GI Joes, but yeah, I think the biggest thing was, I mean, we all know this. Like I Return of the Jedi came out when I was a kid. I went to the theater to see it. And the toys were just exploding everywhere. So we went to Target and I just got everything I could. And all of the stuff that's up there, the majority of that's my old stuff with like new, cool accessories and stuff to it. Cause I bought the reissues or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of like, I live vicariously through like Disney and Pixar and like movies, and I've got like Drew Struzan illustrations, like one sheets over there. And I love it. This is like my place where I try to remember what it's like to be a child, you know, and like where everything was limitless and I could do anything.
Sweet spot.
What are bad recommendations you hear in the industry, in our profession, or area of expertise or close to it?
Yeah. First thing I'm going to say is just putting out content. I think it's one of the most misleading things that you can do is just to put junk out there all the time. And I say this again, there are people that post all the time that put amazing stuff out there, but there's this idea that like we work for the algorithm, right? The only way these algorithms work now is if you post stuff regularly, right? And so when you stop doing that, you can feel it. Like when I stop posting, my impressions go way down, and I don't want to post every single day, but I do it. And I try to make a schedule around it. And sometimes I skip a day or whatever, but like, I think one of the things that I just don't think we have to be on LinkedIn and Instagram posting all the time. And
when you say a junk post, what do you like define that as?
Oh gosh, I could get myself in trouble because people would know exactly.
Name names, please.
No. Just when you're talking about something, you're getting on there and you're talking about something, like everyone wants to know your opinion, right? Like I just want to see the work that you did, and I want to read something about it. Sure, I'd like to hear your perspective, but there's this idea that you just have to be putting content out there. And I will say that I don't follow a lot of the people, and I unfollow people that are just putting a lot of content out there. Like I'm now a brand expert. And so I'm now going to be like Alan Peters' protege or something like that. Like I'm going to start doing everything that Alan's doing. And Alan's got a portfolio to back up all the shit he talks about.
Totally.
So like he can do that all day long. You may not like it. But like he can do that all day long, and he's written a book about it. But like the idea that some young designer sees Alan and says, that's what I've got to do, that's where it all goes wrong. Right. And I think that's, there's a couple of things there. You shouldn't just pick someone and just do everything that they do. I think that's a good lesson. But this idea of just throwing content up because you've got to stay on top of some algorithm that's literally working against you, because as you know, as both of you know, the only way that really works is when you start paying it money.
Right. And I pay it money. And then once you pay it money, it learns you pay it money. And then it doesn't want to give you reach organically as much because they know that you'll pay for that.
That's
listen, everyone rewind that and listen to that again, because that's so true. It's like, I don't know how many of us would just, I wish that someone, this is never going to reach anyone at Meta or LinkedIn or whatever, but like, oh, the other day, oh my God, well, that's a kind of a tangent, but like literally, like I would get off of those websites or those social media platforms tomorrow and never go on them again, Facebook included. It's just a dumpster fire. If
Yeah.
I didn't have to be on there and thought that someone wouldn't buy one ticket or buy one of your filters. I mean, or one of your books. I mean, it's like we all feel this fear that if we aren't on those platforms, we're going to miss out. And who loved the days of where you could just like have followers, and when you post something, they would see it, and then they could go to your website, and then they could experience your brand, and then they would buy your stuff, right? Now it's like, you have no idea if someone ever saw that. And in fact, they're looking at all kinds of other shit online. And so if they even see that, they may be pissed off about something. And so they're not going to engage with it the same way. I mean, it's really social media.
So I'll
get on the soapbox, but
I heard a story to your point about like, you can't get it to reach anybody. And that was a very nice holistic view of what happens, because it feels like this really is what happens. Like in the beginning, say like Instagram comes out, you post stuff, your friends see it, you get tons of followers, your reach is massive, opportunities come. Essentially, it's like free ads. It's like what you pay for ads nowadays is essentially free. Everyone sees it. You can get customers. People will see your breakfast, people will see your lunch, and you'll actually have people engaging with that. And then once they get enough people, then the customer is no longer the customer. The customer is the business. So then they start accommodating the businesses, which means you stop seeing your friends' stuff and you start seeing more business stuff, which then makes you and your friends stop posting, because you feel like it's starting to get so sophisticated in the terms of the production that it's no longer truly social media. It's almost like these little productions. And then you go into the red dwarf stage, which is essentially where the social media company is no longer working for the business or the people. It's purely working for itself, trying to claw on as much profit as it can by delivering crappy low quality ads to people that don't care to see them.
We end up working for that company, right? Like we're working for LinkedIn, and we're working for Meta or Instagram or whatever. And the other thing too is, here my biggest hope, and I think this happened to Pinterest a little bit. I'm not a big fan of that platform, but there's going to be so much crap out there that's just AI and not true, that I hope there's a day when people just abandon those platforms altogether and then decide to start building websites again, weird little websites like we talked about in the very beginning, to where people just start kind of like not going off in their own silos. Like that was the lie we were all sold, that we all have to be in this one place together.
Yeah.
But how many of you, I mean, I still have these, like I have these favorites folders from like 2004 when I was like working at Invisible Creature and stuff, like where I would just like, I had all this inspiration, and all those websites are probably down, but like I still have my inspiration folders. And what I would do every day is I would have a break and I'd just go link by link by link. And I would just like check out what new stuff they had going on.
Yeah, all the blogs. I would love blogs for that reason.
Yes.
I'd go to
my RSS feed back in the day.
Like there was like a perfect mix of them, and it's fantastic.
I think I hope those days are coming back. Honestly, I think our desire to consume is going to be so overwhelming. That's not the right way to put it, but I think good people are going to realize like how plastic like these platforms are, and are going to desire something else. And my hope is that we go back to building weird websites and experiences for our own brands, so that people will just start paying attention. Because that's the other thing. It's the volume, right? It's like there's too much stuff. But if we could just like get it down to these, like, I don't know, 50 links that we engage with, and maybe we add some, maybe we get rid of some, but there was like 50 links that we went to that were our favorites. I think that would go a really long way, but I don't know. I mean, that was a big, long thing about like, I mean, we all know this. Social media is not real, regardless of like whatever it is. Like just the fact that they move it to where you'll either see it or won't see it, that means it's not honest, it's not real. So if we could all just kind of get to that place,
it's just media,
and start realizing that, that we would, again, you don't have to abandon it. You don't have to stop posting on it. Just use it differently. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but one of my biggest gripes right now is the amount of posting on LinkedIn about how much you're a brand expert, or here are the 10 things that it takes to, here's the 10 things that it takes to sell your brand. It's like, when's the last time you posted new work, man? Like, I want to see the work that you're doing. Maybe you should spend the time on your website or something else than posting about how much of a brand expert you are, because you need some help. And I just say that as, I mean, I've been in this industry for 25 years. I'm not trying to say that as like a little shit, but like, it's really tough. It's really tough when everyone almost at the same time starts posting about the same things, and it's all written in AI. I mean, I use AI. I use AI on a regular basis. I'll say that I use it on a regular basis to put my content out there and make sure that I'm saying the right things, consistently and not stupidly. Right. I still write it all. But what's crazy is like people just have started putting content out there written by AI. You can tell it's written by AI because it just, I mean, you just see it. It's not just the M dashes. It's a lot deeper than that.
And emojis.
What's so funny, like in Retro Supply, like we get reviews, and reviews for all eternity would be 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences. Every so often you get a hardcore, these are your champions, and they'd write like a little dissertation on why they love the company. Nowadays, all of a sudden, right, about 2 years ago, I don't know if you guys remember, something happened 2 years ago around November, it feels like, the reviews start turning into 3-paragraph descriptions that sound like Rice Krispies commercials, like, with, and you just know. And it's weird because it has a scent, like you can catch the scent of it.
That's right. Well, the other thing, I thought about this the other day, and sorry, we're not supposed to go on another thing. We're doing these quick questions, but I just was thinking about this the other day. The economy is in such a shit place right now that like it's forcing more people and more companies to use AI just to get by. Like I don't have enough money to afford a copywriter, much less I don't have enough time to work with a copywriter anymore. I used to like send people bios and like give them like 3 weeks to like get all the stuff I needed to do for social media. And like, I don't have time for that anymore because I'm just always putting out fires, and I'm always trying to put out the next thing that I need to be working on is as if I had a team. My wife worked at a corporation and they got rid of like half of her team and told her to do the same amount of work. And like, so everyone's leveraged, like the place that we're in capitalism, if you will, the big C, like we're forcing more people to use AI anyway. And it's like, I feel like, I don't know what you guys feel like, but I feel like at some point we're going to pass the point of no return, and we're just going to get used to doing the same job of 3 people, one person doing that job and just like faking it with AI for as long as possible. I think about that all the time.
No, I think about it too. Honestly, I feel like there's so much more expected of creatives now. Like, and I feel like that's been a trend that's not new, but it's accelerated where, like when new technology comes out now, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, you can make edits on the fly. Like you can go back. It's not like you're hand doing this anymore. You have the software to do this. Like, I feel like now with AI, it's just compounding on that problem where it's like, I just wish like back, you watch, I was watching Mad Men. And, like the artists, and they go in the room and they draw up the ads or whatever. And they're like, no, go back and draw another one. But it's not just overnight. I mean, maybe sometimes, I don't know, but I felt like they're beautiful, like fine art pieces is what they're creating. And I'm like, oh, what would that be like? Like sitting that long and spending that much time, like finessing an idea and making something so beautiful that it lives on its own without, even if you took out all the text, it's just a beautiful piece of art. Like, I feel like I'm really nostalgic for that kind of stuff, but it's so hard to feel that way about the work that I'm doing because, especially since AI's come out, like, or been, kind of infiltrated our industry, I feel like now I can't keep up with, I'm like, if I don't use an AI tool, then I'm just sitting here. They're like, well, why is it taking you so long? You know? And it's like, well,
right.
I'm doing this by hand. And they're like, well, why are you doing it by hand? And it's like, cause I love it, you know, and I want to spend that time on it. So I still like, I think I use AI tools that are built into like Photoshop or whatever, that are like little things to help maybe extend a background or mock something up or something. But for my illustration work, I say it all the time to people. I do it, you watch me live drawing, and I do it the long, hard, stupid way. I still color in the lines instead of just dragging and dropping sometimes, just because I like to color.
Sure.
That's part of it. That's part of the joy of it. So I wish there was like, I'm always looking for ways to like, how can I do something that I feel like matters, you know, and feel somewhere I could feel like I could put my all into. And sadly, those are things that you have to take gigantic risks on, because you're doing it as a passion project. You're not getting paid for it. And that's what, you know, I really appreciate, I didn't get a thank you earlier, but you know, for talking so highly about the books that I make, like my wife wrote them and edited them, and I designed and illustrated them. But, you know, that's just a passion project. And the only reason it exists is not because it pays the bills. It exists because I resonated with those when I was younger. And I was like, what if I could sit down and spend as much time as I wanted on something? What would it look like? Like, what would my version of like those Ed Emberley books that I grew up on, or a Mark Kistler show, you know, like what would that look like if I was doing it and mixed with like the Kratz Creatures type of stuff, you know? I was like, how do I make that into one thing that I love and that other kids could love too? And I just made it because of that. And it's a constant struggle. Like, I'm constantly financially behind and in a deficit because I do it. But I still love it. And I wish there was more outlets.
It's
and things
food for your soul. It's food for your soul, man. You got to do it. I mean, that's the hardest thing, man, is you got to do it. I got to keep doing this. I mean, I may not be able to do it the same capacity as I want to or need to be the best for everyone. But that's why I do what I do. And I'm just thankful that I get to do this, at least to make a meager living out of it at the moment.
Well, we're appreciative of you for doing it. I mean, that's that's hard.
And it brings a lot of, in my opinion, there's so many different kinds of, you know, wealth that people can have. You know, we tend to think of, you know, financial wealth, but, you know, me and Brad talk about this all the time. You know, there's wealth in doing, Brad, correct me if you feel different, Brad, but I think Brad does a lot of things because he loves doing it. I don't think he has no particular way that he knows that it's going to make money. He just really wants to see it in the world, or he really wants to make it. That's a kind of wealth. It's not the kind that pays the rent, but it pays for itself in satisfaction for years and years to come. It pays with your children. It pays with culture in general that you're contributing to it. And, it feels a certain way. It hits a certain way. It took me forever to realize like how important that kind of stuff is. But yeah, there's definitely more than one kind of wealth. Last question.
You got a heart out. Yeah.
I wanted to do a last question I would love to hear your thoughts on. So as you know, it's no surprise to you or any of us, we live in a divisive world. Just had a huge event happen yesterday. Huge event. This is the anniversary of today, is September 11th.
Sure.
So we have all sorts of, you know, things where people have very strong opinions on things. What is something, it doesn't have to be as heavy as something related to something around politics, but could be. What is something that you believe strongly that you have changed your mind about in the past few years, 5 years, and that you just said, you know what, that I did, actually, that's not true. Like, I think I feel differently about that, or I was wrong about that.
And it could be toothpaste. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be heavy.
It could be Star Wars.
Well, no, man, you're asking the wrong person for a toothpaste answer.
I know. It's
man, honestly, I think the gist is learning how bad these things are for you. And like, we've lost the art of being present, and that's kind of where we evolved to. We've evolved to being present, for survival, I'm sure. And, I think the thing that I've learned, and again, it's something I'm struggling with, because again, like for reasons I just talked about with AI, like I don't think isolation's not good. The reason why all of that stuff happened yesterday is because of isolation.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why, this is kind of crazy, I think, the reason why all of the things that happened on September 11th happened is because of isolation. People just didn't, I mean, sure, there's, I could unpack this. We don't have time for it, but it's isolation. And the thing that I've been told for the longest time, either from, my upbringing even in evangelical churches to, like leading in those churches, and then like kind of deconstructing my faith and coming back to some sense of that, is that, I mean, it's the thing that you find in American cities, like diversity of thought, diversity of experience, diversity of knowledge. Like, I used to think that individualism and being on your own and doing your own thing, to a certain extent, was always a good and healthy thing to do, right? You had like the two different lives. You had your family life, and then you had your community life or whatever, if that was your job. And I've worked in community since, 2014. And probably before that some, but like the biggest thing I think that I'm just learning is post-pandemic is how important it is to gather in person, to be in person. Again, this is not a sale for Creative Works. This is, I can name all the conferences you should go to, and they're all great. But like, it's so vitally important that people get out of their house, get out of their office. In some instances, I mean, I work remotely. Some instances you should go back to work, sadly. But it's good for us because we need people around us. We need diversity of thought. We need to like connect with people over a water cooler to figure out that we're not going crazy because we saw this thing on TV or whatever, we also like, I mean, I'm just looking at my social media feed, like, last night and this morning, holy crap. Yep. Like the amount of people that are like outing themselves for being like super bigoted and racist and all these things are like, they're seemingly good people. I thought they were good people, and they're upholding these things because they're isolated. Mm-hmm. They're in an echo chamber. The algorithm is only showing them what keeps them scared and online. And that doesn't change unless you get in front of more people. The biggest thing that happened with this is be the last thing I say, and then I'll stop. But there's so many of my friends here in Memphis that like, that they're so just ignorant of so many different things. And what changed my mind is I worked on this campaign for children in poverty. And I used to work downtown, which means I had to drive through the hood every day. That's probably not the right word to use, but impoverished communities on my way, projects, all that stuff. Like I had to drive through Wire or whatever that show is, basically every single day. Yeah. The Wire. Every single day to get to my office. And my entire experience of those two things, getting out of my neighborhood and having to drive through that every single day, and then learning about the realities of people that don't have the same opportunities as you do, that aren't in your bubble. I had to do a couple things. I had to get out of the house to figure that out, and I had to be around other people that could tell me those things. And I had to see the guy on the corner every day selling snacks. And I had to see the kids getting like hassled by their friends for not being tough enough, or, fighting and all this stuff that I had to see every single day. And there's so many people that are just on their phones in their own realities, in their churches, unfortunately, in their own clubs, that just are not around enough other people. Like my dad's a good example of someone who's never been to New York, and he thinks that the conference doesn't work in a city that's that dangerous. And it's like, dude,
he's never been to Memphis. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
Just teasing.
So,
I'm just teasing. Yeah.
No,
sorry, that was a terrible.
That's good. No, it's good. But like you got to get out. You got to get out of the house. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to have a conversation with someone else who doesn't believe what you believe. And then, I don't know. I guess that's the thing that I'm learning, that I used to think was like it was kind of like a maybe, It was like, maybe you got to get out of your comfort zone. But like now I think it's more important than everything. I think it's the thing that's ruining our country. And again, it's this. This has given us all the information we need. And we used to have to figure that information out from the people in our community.
I agree. And this is to the testament of conferences, you know, and it's absolutely true. Whether it's, you know, Creative Works or whatever conference, you know, is right for you. When politics really started to heat up for that the first time in my life that I've ever experienced it was these past 10 years, right? But I think it was maybe right around COVID or after that people were divided. I mean, people are still divided, but divided. And whatever side you were on, you viewed people very different on the other side from, like you said, your phone or from the news. And I had met so many people from conferences that were from the South, right? Memphis, Atlanta, Columbus, all these places. And I got on to calls with them, just catching up. What people believe is nothing like what you're seeing on your phone. It's not like that. Totally. Everyone is just like you. They have slightly varying approaches to how they think it should get done, but I couldn't believe it. I remember talking to one of my friends, and when they were done telling me their perspective on it, I was like, you have no idea how relieved I am, because what I see from a certain group is scary. And then what I hear from someone that's actually in that group is not. It's just a regular person just like me.
It's what you said.
It sounds hokey, but it really did feel like that. And it was
we could do another podcast on this.
I think we opened up a major can of worms.
I know.
Well, Josh, as you were talking, I don't know if people watching this podcast are going to see Dustin and I going, like trying to say something, because there's so much to say on this topic. And I know, honestly, and I'm a talker too. So I'll just throw my last 2 little cents in on that, because there's big pivotal moments in my life that changed how I viewed the world. And one of those was I went to the Philippines. I served a mission for my church when I was 19. And I lived in the Philippines for 2 years, and it just blew my mind. It was a third world country. There's so much poverty, so much, you know, I witnessed a lot of death. You know, there were also the most amazing people in the world and I met amazing, you know, friends, and I got to see how they were happy, and I could not believe that they were happy in the state that they had, or how little they had. And I felt very fortunate for what I had. So it really opened my eyes. And then, you know, I feel like in these last few years, you know, it's going to conferences is a great one. Like you were talking about, like even going to like the South. Luckily I've had the privilege of moving around quite a bit and living in these different communities, and going to different conferences and things. And I've met so many people, and Justin, you're exactly right. When you meet people, you realize, you see their humanity. And a lot of times, you know, people are a different person online. It's easy to get sucked into this, like feeling like, oh, I have an opinion, I'm going to throw it out there, and I don't care who's opposed to it or gets offended by it. But that's not how you are in person. And I think, Josh, that goes to exactly what you're saying, is like, we're a little bit less brave when we're in person. And I think it's because,
that's good.
We see who's being affected, and then we also see who they are. They're not the same. Like we can be as divisive as we want, and then we all get in the same room. We're all dropped on lost example. We're all thrown on an island, stuck there. How are we going to act? Are we going to have these same issues? Are we going to treat each other the same? Or are we going to try to deal with it and try to move on? And I feel like that's the real value. And for me, it's been very much, we could talk religious stuff. I mean, just realizing, stepping outside of a religious bubble and looking in and saying, oh my gosh, all these people I was told to fear, they're my friends, and they're good people. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of that in there. So for me, I totally resonate with that. And I agree. That's great. That's a great insight. Just get to my wife. I think it says in my last episode, my wife is always challenging me to get outdoors at least once, to meet somebody new or meet up with somebody in person, you know, in Portland or Vancouver or whatever nearby, and just have lunch or a breakfast or whatever with somebody, just so I can kind of get out of my own head and connect with people. Cause I really need that personally. That's it's a big driving force for happiness in my life, is that just connecting with actual people.
Yeah. We all need it. Even introverts. I mean, it's so vital for sure.
I agree.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. No, this was awesome. I feel like we're gonna get on a phone call like soon after this. We're gonna chat some more. But nice. Thank you for making the time. I really appreciate it. It was great getting to know you even better. And yes, please, everybody if you haven't been to Creative Works online or in person, I love what it is. I love what you look for in speakers, and you're trying to give everyone that experience. Having gone there in person to the Memphis one, the Creative Works, I had an incredible time. It was so much fun. Leaving all the jokes aside, it was an absolute blast. And I loved it. So look it up. Creative Works Online is coming up October 2nd and 3rd.
CreativeWorks.co.
There you have it.
Thanks, guys.
If you're getting value from these conversations, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get bonus content, early access to episodes, and help us keep bringing you the honest stories from creatives who figured it out. Check it out at patreon.com/creative/.